Sometimes even the strongest souls break in silence. And in that silence, truth whispers louder than fame ever could. Today, we talk about a man whose name once echoed in luxury and success, but now trembles inside cold prison walls. Sean "Diddy" Combs, once a symbol of confidence and control, is now claiming that he was almost poisoned behind bars. For many, it sounds like another headline, another rumor. But for those who still remember the man behind the fame, this sounds like a desperate cry from a broken soul. When a person falls from the highest heights, their world doesn't shatter all at once. It breaks in quiet, painful pieces. Diddy's story, once filled with beats, dreams, and million-dollar stages, now unfolds inside a prison cell where trust no longer exists. His words now aren't about glory, but survival. "They tried to poison me," he whispers, not to the crowd, but to whoever still listens. And maybe, just maybe, he's not only speaking about something in his drink, but about a life poisoned long before those bars closed behind him. It all began when whispers started spreading that Diddy had been targeted in jail. Rumors said he drank something he shouldn't have, a homemade drink made inside the prison walls known to inmates as moonshine. Soon after, the story shifted. At first, they said he was clean, sober, focused on redemption. Then came another version. Maybe he drank a little, maybe he didn't. Then, suddenly, the words changed again. He was poisoned. Every version seemed to contradict the last, leaving the public lost between truth and manipulation. But for Diddy, the narrative seemed to be something more, a battle to be seen as a victim, not a villain. Behind these confusing stories lies something darker. A man who built an empire on power, now trapped in a place where power means nothing, where his name doesn't protect him, and his fame doesn't earn respect. A place where even a drink can become a weapon. Those close to Diddy say he's terrified, that paranoia has become his shadow. He eats carefully, trusts no one, and fears that even the smallest gesture could be the start of something fatal. For a man used to commanding every room he entered, that fear must feel unbearable. But this isn't just about a celebrity crying danger. It's about how the world treats broken men who once seemed untouchable. When Diddy claimed he was almost poisoned, most people laughed. They said it was a PR move, a lie for sympathy. But maybe, just maybe, in his fear there's a piece of truth. Maybe he's no longer fighting for his image, but for his sanity. Because when walls close in, and all the people who used to cheer your name disappear, even a whisper of danger feels like a scream for help. His story keeps shifting, and each version feels like a layer of his mind peeling away. At first, he wanted to prove he was strong, clean, ready to change. Then, when things turned against him, he needed to appear innocent, misunderstood, almost helpless. The poison story, some say, is his way of reclaiming pity, of rewriting the script of his downfall. But others believe it's deeper, that something inside those walls is breaking him in ways no one can see. Nova from Celeb Club has seen countless stars fall. But this is different. This feels like watching a man fight not for fame, but for fragments of his soul. Diddy, who once ruled music and business, now lives in a world of whispers, fear, and suspicion. And while the headlines mock him, his eyes tell a different story. The story of a man who might be losing his mind behind bars. Some say his team is behind these rumors, trying to change the public's view, to turn anger into sympathy and blame into forgiveness. Others believe the prison staff leaked it to justify his transfer. There are even those who whisper that enemies inside may be mocking him, trying to destroy whatever dignity he has left. But no matter the truth, one thing is clear. Diddy's once perfect control over his image has crumbled. The man who once controlled every beat, every frame, every rumor, now can't even control his own story. For an older generation that remembers how fame once meant something real, Diddy's downfall feels like a tragic reflection of what happens when power goes too far. Fame can give you everything, but it can also take your peace, your safety, and eventually your truth. And maybe this story of poison is just a mirror of something deeper, a poisoned soul crying out in the only way it knows how. If this truly happened, if someone tried to harm him, it shows that even behind bars, fame doesn't fade. It becomes a danger. Everyone wants something from you. Everyone watches. Everyone whispers. But if this is just another narrative crafted for pity, then it's proof that Diddy hasn't learned what real freedom means. Not the kind that comes from walking out of a cell, but the kind that comes from facing your own mistakes without hiding behind excuses. As the world watches him twist between guilt and fear, one question remains. Is Diddy really in danger, or has he become his own worst enemy? Whether it's poison in a drink or poison in his mind, something is slowly eating away at him. And maybe, for the first time, the man who always thought he could buy, charm, or command his way out of anything, can't escape himself. This is Celeb Club, and I'm Nova, sharing the story not to mock, but to remind. No one is untouchable. No one is above consequence. And sometimes, the greatest punishment isn't the cell you're in. It's the silence that follows you when the world finally stops listening. Sometimes, when life breaks a man, it doesn't happen in a loud crash. It happens slowly through loneliness, regret, and whispers that never stop. That's what it feels like inside Diddy's world right now. Behind those steel doors, the noise isn't from the other inmates. It's from the thoughts that won't leave his mind. He's said to be restless, pacing through his cell, replaying every mistake, every betrayal, every moment that led him here. And when he said someone tried to poison him, people laughed. But those who've been through real fear know that sometimes the mind creates its own poison long before anyone else does. There's something deeply sad about watching a man who once ruled the world, now trying to prove that he's the one being wronged. Every day, his story changes just a little, a different headline, a new twist, a softer tone. It's not just about the drink or the rumors of moonshine anymore. It's about control, the one thing Diddy has always needed, but now no longer has. And when control is taken away from someone who's lived their entire life being in charge, the mind begins to collapse under its own weight. Many say this new poisoning story is just another move in a long PR game. That Diddy's team is doing what they've always done. Shifting the story, finding sympathy, painting him as misunderstood. Maybe that's true. Maybe his lawyers and media advisors are working overtime, crafting words that sound softer than the reality. But look closer, and you'll see something that feels more human than calculated. You'll see fear. You'll see guilt. You'll see a man terrified of being forgotten. Inside those walls, the silence isn't peaceful. It's heavy. The days stretch longer, and every glance, every sound feels like a warning. When you've lived your life being adored, suddenly being surrounded by people who don't care who you are, that's a punishment no court could ever deliver. Diddy's team says he fears for his life, that he doesn't trust the guards, the food, or even his own cellmates. He believes someone might want him gone. Maybe it's paranoia. Or maybe deep down, it's his own conscience whispering what the world already believes, that karma doesn't miss a beat. And yet, there's a small part of Diddy's story that tugs at the heart. Maybe not because of who he is, but because of what he's become. In every fallen man, there's a reflection of what power does when it goes unchecked. Once Diddy had everything, respect, fame, a world at his feet. But now, he's a name that carries fear instead of pride. It's as if the poison he speaks of has always been there, running through the veins of his choices, through years of power, ego, and secrets. For older fans who remember the golden era of his music, watching this unfold feels like watching time itself turn on him. The glitz, the glory, all gone. The crowds, the laughter, all silent. Now he's left with only himself. And that might be the cruelest sentence of all. Those around him say he's still trying to shape the story. Each week, a new rumor, a new explanation, as if changing the story could change the truth. He went from claiming he was sober, to saying he had a small drink, to insisting someone spiked it to harm him. And in that confusion, maybe what we're really seeing is a man fighting to find meaning in his own downfall. Maybe he's not lying, maybe he's just lost. The media, of course, eats it all up. Every whisper becomes a headline. Every headline becomes a performance. And while the world argues about whether he was really poisoned or just trying to protect his image, Diddy sits in that cell, staring at a wall that doesn't care who he used to be. Because fame means nothing there. Influence means nothing. In prison, everyone is stripped down to the same truth. Who you are when no one's watching. And maybe, that's the part that hurts him most. Diddy's entire life was about being seen, being the biggest, the loudest, the most powerful. But now, even when the world watches, it's not out of admiration. It's curiosity. It's judgment. It's pity. For someone who lived on applause, silence can be louder than any crowd. Nova, here at Celeb Club, believes that stories like this remind us how fragile even the strongest lives can be. No one expects to end up there, in that cold space between guilt and grace. And while we may not know if Diddy truly was in danger or if this is another crafted tale, we can see one truth. The man is falling apart. The ego that once ruled empires is now crumbling. And sometimes that fall is more painful than any poison could ever be. The saddest part? Diddy still believes he can win. Not just in court, but in the court of public opinion. Sources say his team is working quietly behind the scenes, hoping to turn this poison story into compassion. not for forgiveness from the world, but to open the door for something bigger. A pardon. Because if the story becomes one of survival instead of guilt, the narrative changes. It's no longer about punishment, it's about protection. And that's where the truth of manipulation and desperation collide. Is Diddy trying to protect his image? Or is he truly afraid for his life? Or could both be true? When a man feels cornered, he will do anything to regain control, even if it means rewriting his own pain into a script the public might believe. There's a haunting irony in it all. For years, Diddy controlled stories about music, money, fame, and success. But now the story controls him. It's no longer about the mogul who could buy the world. It's about the man who can't even trust his next drink. The same man who once celebrated life in gold bottles now fears that one sip might end him. And so, as he sits alone, trying to make sense of what's real and what's not, maybe this is the lesson he was meant to face. The truth can't be managed. It can't be paid off, rebranded, or filtered through PR. The truth waits, patiently, quietly, until the walls close in. So whether or not that drink was poisoned, something far more powerful has already entered his system: reality. And there's no antidote for that. There comes a moment in every person's life when the noise fades, the spotlight dims, and all that remains is silence. The kind of silence that forces you to listen to your own soul. For Diddy, that moment has arrived. The man who once filled the world with sound now hears only echoes. Echoes of his past, echoes of his power, and echoes of the pain he caused, both to others and to himself. Inside that silence, something begins to happen. The walls that once felt like punishment start to reflect truth. And the truth is this: Diddy is no longer the man the world knew. He's a shadow of that person, standing in a place where money means nothing, fame offers no escape, and even time feels like it's standing still. The poison he claims was in that drink might have been real, or it might be a metaphor for everything he's been consuming for years. Pride, ego, lies, control. All the things that once made him powerful now sit heavy in his chest, burning like regret. There's an old saying: a man doesn't know himself until he loses everything. Maybe this is that moment for Diddy. Maybe the universe stripped him of everything: the lights, the luxury, the endless applause, so he could finally hear what's been waiting to be heard: the truth. Because the truth doesn't come wrapped in comfort. It comes in the stillness of long nights, the weight of guilt, and the fear that you've run out of chances. Behind those bars, stories spread fast, but none of them faster than fear. The talk about poison, about danger, about hidden enemies, it's all part of a cycle that keeps Diddy both relevant and restless. Some say it's his way of reaching for control, others think it's pure survival instinct. But deep down, maybe it's something simpler: the need to be seen as human again. To be pitied, not hated. To be remembered, not erased. There was a time when Diddy could walk into a room and command the world's attention with a single smile. Now, when people say his name, it's followed by words like accused, convicted, broken. And that transformation, from idol to outcast, is something even fame can't protect you from. You can't buy your way out of truth. You can't charm your way out of consequence. And maybe that's the message his story carries, not just for him, but for everyone who once believed power made them untouchable. Nova from Celeb Club has seen many rise and fall. But few stories carry the weight of Diddy's. Because this isn't just about one man's downfall. It's about what happens when you build a kingdom out of ego and forget that empires built on pain don't last. The world once cheered his success, and now it watches his collapse, not with hate, but with a kind of heavy sadness. Because every fall from grace reminds us how human even the mighty truly are. In the last few weeks, sources close to Diddy say he's been quieter. He doesn't talk much. He avoids eye contact. He's been writing, journaling, they say, for hours a day. Maybe he's trying to explain himself, or maybe he's finally trying to face himself. Whatever it is, it feels like the first real step toward truth. Not the kind he can share with the world, but the kind he can finally admit to himself. And still, his team continues to spin stories: the poison, the danger, the sympathy. They want the world to see him as someone who deserves mercy. But mercy doesn't come through headlines. It comes through humility. And humility can't be scripted. It has to be lived, felt, and earned. Maybe Diddy's not there yet. Maybe he's still fighting that old instinct to control the story instead of living it honestly. But one thing is certain: the world has changed, and so has he. For the audience watching this from home, especially those who've lived long enough to know how fragile life can be, there's a message buried deep inside this tragedy. No matter how high you rise, no matter how powerful you become, you can lose it all in a moment. What remains isn't the fame or fortune, it's the truth you left behind. And so we come to the final question. Was Diddy really poisoned, or was this just another attempt to rewrite a story that's already been written by fate? Maybe it doesn't matter anymore. Because whether that drink held danger or not, the real poison has already done its work. It lived in his pride, his choices, and his belief that he could outsmart consequence. Now, as he sits in that cell, maybe he finally understands that redemption doesn't come from denying your past. It comes from facing it, from owning it, from letting the silence heal what noise once drowned out. So tonight, as we end this story, remember, every man, no matter how powerful, will one day meet a moment of truth. For Diddy, that moment is now. This is Celeb Club, and I'm Nova, reminding you that fame fades, but truth remains. The world may forget your name, but it will never forget your choices. And sometimes the greatest redemption comes not from proving your innocence, but from accepting your humanity. May he find peace not through pity or power, but through the quiet honesty that comes when there's nothing left to hide.